People ask me, how do you deal in your prayer hub or your house of prayer with people who want to get on there and talk instead of pray, teach instead of pray, start giving testimonies instead of pray? This is not a pleasant situation. And some people will try to dominate the prayer time by starting to teach or preach or tell stories. And that's not the purpose of the prayer meeting. The purpose of the prayer meeting is what? To pray. It's not time to preach. It's not time to teach. It's not time to tell testimonies. Now, you could have testimony time at the end if you want to do that. It's always good to end your meeting, or you could start the meeting with, hey, who has a breakthrough testimony? But probably better to do it at the end, because if you do some of those things at the beginning, it just starts a conversation and you never get to pray. So remember, God has got a purpose. We want to pray first. If you want to do a teaching in your prayer hub, you want to teach people some pointers on praying, hey, man, that's awesome. You can do that. You can do that first. But you, as the leader or someone that you've designated, are the ones to do the teaching, right? Don't just let somebody fly, oh, I have a teaching. We have to do everything decently and in order. So we don't want to let people dominate, because people won't keep coming back to your prayer meeting if the same guy in the corner is over here, dominating, telling stories, preaching, interrupting people. Nobody wants to be part of a meeting where one person is dominating. Remember, as a leader, you're leading, you're not dominating, you're leading, and you're looking for cooperation, but nobody should be dominating a prayer meeting. So you need to be gracious in this. You need to be gracious in handling these type of situations, but it needs to be handled, because the momentum of your prayer meeting can nosedive. And again, people don't want to be part of it. We were doing a prayer rally at some point, and this precious lady gets up, and we had already been praying. Literally, we'd already been praying for, I don't know, 2.5 hours. I mean, it was a long prayer meeting. It was just supposed to be, 2 hours. We'd gone over, and people were winding down. You could tell they were winding down. And this precious lady got up there and began to do a whole teaching. And because we love her and respect her, we thought, well, maybe she's just going to share something quickly. And we didn't want to hurt her feelings, but she just kept on and on and on. And people actually started looking at their phones and, scrambling in their purses. A couple people left. And finally, Prophet Vanessa had to go up there and touch her on the shoulder and say, it's just prayer only. So people mean well. You don't want to tag them or get frustrated with them and say, well, they're the talker. Sometimes people just don't understand. So the first thing you want to do is, well, first of all, you have to be gracious in this. But the first thing you want to do is you want to lay out ground rules at the beginning of the meeting. So you see, listen, I always tell this to my leadership. You can't blame somebody for not following a rule that you haven't made clear. If they don't know the rule, then they don't know the rule. If they don't know the protocols, they don't know the protocols. How can you get upset and frustrated when they don't know? So you can send out the protocols ahead of time in an email or in your Facebook group, if you want to, or you can lay it out at the beginning of the meeting. Now, because some people just don't know better. You'd be surprised. You'd be surprised at how common sense is not all that common, or what they learned from another leader. Maybe that was okay in a prayer meeting, or maybe it wasn't okay. Listen, maybe it wasn't okay in another prayer leaders meeting, but nobody stopped them. Nobody wanted to confront it. And so what that's doing is it's diverting the prayer meeting, the purpose of the prayer meeting. Now, you can also, ahead of time, if you have a lot of these people in your meeting, you can call on people to pray about certain things and say, okay, Janet, go ahead and pray. Or, okay, Sammy, go ahead and pray. Instead of just letting people jump in, you can actually call on them. I've been on a lot of prayer calls where the leader would call on us to pray. And he would say, okay, now pray. So you can have a roster ahead of time if you know who's coming. If you have regulars, you can assign them to pray for certain things and part of the themes, or you can let them pray freelance at the end. Listen, worst case scenario, you'll have to gently interrupt them and apologize. And that's, nobody likes to do that. Nobody likes to do that, but you are a steward of this prayer meeting. And it's your responsibility as a prayer leader to make sure that the Holy Spirit's agenda is prayed through, and that you don't lose all your other intercessors by allowing one person to come in and da 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 da. So you could just say, John, we're so grateful for your thoughts on this. We appreciate your insights, and maybe we'll have time later tonight to talk about that. But right now, we want to keep the prayer momentum going, so we really need to pray. And you say it nicely. You don't have to say it mean. You say it nicely, and hopefully after that time they learn and they just back off a little bit and understand the purpose. Sometimes people don't know. Now, if they won't stop doing this week after week, if they won't stop doing this week after week, and you've told them this, I'm sorry, John, but it's not that. Then you're going to have a come to Jesus talk. You're going to have a come to Jesus talk with them, because nobody likes to do that, but it's part of leadership. And if you're going to coach somebody, if you're going to correct somebody, make sure that you couch the correction between two compliments. So, John, we're so grateful to have you as part of this team. You're an asset, and your passion for prayer. We're so grateful because we need people like you. Just remember, though, this is a time to pray and not to talk. We really got to keep it focused because people are on a time schedule, and our purpose is to pray. So next week when you get on, man, just go for it and pray, because we love when you pray. And maybe if we can get through the prayer time and accomplish God's will, then we can speak. So you couch it in compliment, the correction, because you do value people and people need to feel valued. Now, here's the thing too. Bill Johnson taught me this. Well, he didn't teach me this. I kind of do the same thing, but he told me this when I was with him in Bethel a couple years ago. He said that he hates to confront people. I don't like it either. So what he does is he prays and asks the Lord to show them so that he doesn't have to. And maybe if you pray for them, maybe the Holy Spirit will convict them. But some people, you're just going to have to confront. You got to guard your heart from being annoyed with the talker, because it can be annoying. So you got to guard your heart, because that'll poison the prayer meeting. If you're upset or frustrated, that's going to flow over the whole group. So you don't want that. Now, if you want to allow for testimonies or fellowshipping at the end of your meeting, you can do that by all means. But remember, everything decently and in order. There's a time to pray. There's a time to talk. There's a time to testify. And nobody should be teaching in your group unless they have your authority to do that, because you are the leader. It's not, Awakening Prayer Hubs is not a church. Awakening House of Prayer, some of the Awakening Houses of Prayer are churches, but Awakening Prayer is not a church, but it's like a church in the sense that there's somebody that has authority. There's one person that leads it, and you can only have one leader. All right, does that make sense? Now we're going to talk in this third section about raising up a Timothy, and then after that we're going to shift. All right.
Hey guys, I have good news about our prayer movement. Awakening Prayer Hubs, well, we've made it a little easier for you to gather. We know that not all of you can gather in a church or even in a home. We've got prison prayer hubs as well, but not all of you are in prison ministry. And so we have now made a way. We call them e-hubs. Those of you who want to have groups on Facebook to gather intercessors and pray, those of you who want to pray on the phone or by some other digital means, maybe it's a WhatsApp group, maybe it's some other digital platform that you all like to use. We still want to facilitate that. We still want to cover that. We still want to help you gather and mobilize and train prayer warriors, intercessors, watchmen, you name it. We're here for you. I want you to go to awakeningprayerhubs.com and find out more about our e-hubs. There's a lot of videos there that you can watch about the prayer movement, questions and answers that many people have about prayer and how to host a prayer meeting. All of that's there for you anytime you want, but we want to connect with you at a deeper level. We want to be able to go with you where neither one of us have gone before in the prayer movement and really begin to break down the barriers of buildings and walls and go digital. Awakening Prayer Hubs, the e-hubs are there for you. Go check it out. Let us know if you have questions. My heartbeat is to facilitate prayer and a prophetic life in the nations of the earth. And let's face it, can't have a prophetic life without prayer. Awakeningprayerhubs.com. I'll see you there.